Good afternoon and a very warm welcome back to the channel. A little bit like buses, no videos come along forever and then two come along in quick succession. But part of the reason I'm posting this video is because I did the video on the 1 year ownership of the BMW R1250GS and I got some fantastic comments. Always love the comments. I learn an awful lot from them. Hopefully others learn from them as well. But I got quite a number of comments after I'd posted about my favourite accessories, what I liked about the bike, what I didn't like about the bike. And that video you can have a look at this card up here on the right hand side. But I got some great comments on the best probably accessory that I've got, which is the inner bags for my Vario panniers on the bike. The bike is fitted with the BMW Vario panniers, which are the plastic panniers with the aluminium coverings, if you like. I probably prefer the adventure panniers and top box from an aesthetics point of view, but certainly from a functionality point of view, and coupled with these accessory BMW inner liners for those cases, I really do like the features of the Vario panniers. Not having had the adventure ones, I've no real idea, but certainly having the Vario ones coupled with these cases, it's a very, very nice setup indeed. So what I'd like to do is go through the inner bags first. It would be a pointless video just to do the inner bags. So I'm going to show you the inner bags. I'm going to show you how the Vario panniers work, which for a lot of you that have already got 1200s or 1250s, and in fact, I think even some of the original 1150s with Vario panniers, you'll know the features of them. And obviously I apologise straight away for boring you to tears, but what I'm also going to incorporate into that is how the inner bags work with the Vario panniers, how the Vario panniers work, but also maybe give you a little bit of a clue and a couple of the things that I take on tour with me. Now, I'm by no means an experienced tourer. Many of you will have much greater experience than I have, but certainly last year I did a 4-day trip in Wales and a 9-day trip to the Scottish Highlands from Southampton, which is, to all intents and purposes, well, in fact, it was in the end the entire length of the country. And so I've got a little bit of experience now of how I use these and how I keep myself organised and enable myself to be able to pack and unpack in a fairly quick way, and also to keep everything about me that I might need on a particular ride. So the first thing we'll do, I think, is have a look at the side case bags. They're pretty much the same and the features of them are the same, but I'd just like to point out the two very subtle differences with the side bags, and then we'll show you the top box bag, and that will show you the features of the inner bags, because the features of the inner bags are identical throughout. So just on my right is my right hand bag, on my left is my left hand bag, and that is exactly how they fit on the bike. Now, to all intents and purposes, if you look at them first, they look pretty much the same. And indeed, when you look at the cases that they fit into, you might actually very easily get these reversed. But this bag here, which is the bag in the right-hand pannier, now the right-hand pannier has to go over the exhaust. So it has quite a bit of the bag removed, or quite a bit of the case removed from it to allow the pipe to go, and we'll have a look at that case a little bit later on. But if we look at the bag that comes out of that case, or the bag that goes in that case, it is a totally symmetrical rectangular cube, like so. Nothing special about it, nothing different about it, just a straightforward rectangular cube. And as I say, in a second, we'll go through the features of the bags themselves when we look at the top box bag. But if we now look at the bag that goes on the left-hand side of the bike, so the opposite side to the exhaust, we will see, hopefully, that this bag, whilst it looks very similar, is actually not symmetrical. And I think if I tip it that way, you'll very easily be able to see that this part of the bag slopes outwards. And if you compare that with the inside of the left-hand case, you'll see that that is the situation with the case as well. So they are scalloped to fit the case, but it's quite important when you buy the bags that you don't mix those up and get them the wrong way. Otherwise, you won't actually be packing the bags in the best possible way you can. So that's the two side bags. Now let's take a look at the top box bag, and on the top box bag, we'll show you in the end the features that make the bag. So this is the top box bag, obviously on its side, because the GS logo would normally be on the top. So we'll now rotate it into the position that it fits into the top box. So this is the position in which it fits into the top box, with the handle facing the back of the bike. So you're now looking at my number plate and the back of the top box. But you'll see that all of these cases have a very nice, strong handle with great stitching, which can be then used just like a case to carry the bag in. They also all come with a detachable shoulder strap, like so. And if we look at the side of the case, they just link in a pretty standard way, just with a little rocker clip, like so. So we'll stick that back on. They both have 2 lots of zips. So if we look at all of the cases, you'll see that they have, somewhere on here, on the side here, a zip, and this zip goes all the way around the box, like so. And you will have seen this on some of the suitcases that you own, I'm sure. And that will actually allow the case itself to expand. And of course, the beauty of the Vario panniers is that the box will expand and contract. So that is what allows, if you like, the box to concertina. So you can either have it zipped up and have the Vario box or panniers in the closed position, or have it open and have the Vario panniers or box in the open position. And you get, I think, about 1/3 more space, but we'll give you the space in a second of exactly what the cube is of that. So that's this zip there that opens, and then at the top here we've got, and I mean, you may be able to see it if I just bring it a little closer to the camera, the zip is very much a water resistant type zip, so the sort of same thing that you would expect to get on a rain suit or indeed on your motorcycle clothing. But if we just pull those round, 2 zips again, so you only have to go half the way round, then lift the lid, you'll see that it's a fairly straightforward cavernous opening here, which is relatively square. The sides aren't, they do have a stiffness to them, but they're equally able to be deformed slightly. They're not rigid in any way. And then if we look at the lid, we'll see that the lid here has mesh pockets, and those mesh pockets have zips. Something left in there, a couple of little Allen key sets left in there. And then these ones zip all the way around, like so. And that allows that flap to drop completely down. So anything which you don't want to get moisture or anything can go into those because they are breathable. I normally put my maps and documents into that particular area. Now, how do I pack for a tour? Well, my panniers always have my clothing in. So just standard stuff that you're going to wear during the day, during the evening, because during the day you're generally wearing motorcycle wear. But if you're taking leisure days out, it would have your normal clothing, your evening clothing, just your normal clothing that you wear in your underwear and all of those types of things. The top box I reserve for stuff that I'm going to need during the ride. So it would be some of the stuff you may not carry, like a drone, like a gimbal for my camera, batteries, those types of things, or some of those go in my tank bag so that they're charging on the move. But just general usable stuff like that, as I've already said, maps and documents go in the lid so that those are very easy to access. The other thing that I do have in my top box are these 3 items. Now, these 3 items travel everywhere with me on tour. I have a Rukka Textile motorcycling outfit, which consists of jacket and trousers. Now, Textile, as opposed to laminate, Textile has its waterproof coating on the inside of the Gore-Tex material, if you like. So the water will ingress into the material, but will then get stopped by the waterproof lining on the inside. Now that makes for, as near as you can get, 100% waterproof garment, but it does absorb water into the cloth. So it means the cloth gets cold and the cloth gets heavy. And of course it needs drying time after, whereas a laminated outfit will very much just have the water run off it because the waterproof liner is built into the material. So I ride with a Rukka, mainly because I couldn't afford it, a Rukka Textile jacket, which means that I realistically have to have a extra, or I like to have, I don't have to, I like to have an extra waterproof layer so that the water runs off and my jacket, not only does it stay dry, but it stays light and it stays warm. So I use these. They are made by Tucano Urbano, and they are called Nano Plus. So those are the trousers, and that is the jacket. And it is pretty spectacular when you think that both of those are no bigger than a coffee mug, and that they will squash and squeeze as well, so they will go into any area. But those effectively are my waterproof trousers. So I certainly am very, very pleased to have bought those. Again, they weren't that inexpensive, but those I do keep in my Topbox bag with the jacket. And in fact, you can see that jacket being used on our tour to Scotland, and here's some footage. With that footage running to show you, the second thing that I always carry is this. Now, this is a quilted, feather-filled, I don't really know what you call it, but it's an ultra down, like a puffer jacket, but it is one that is very, very, very lightweight, but incredibly warm. Again, we had one of the people riding with us in Scotland who didn't bring warm enough clothing, and he borrowed this considerably during his time, and he's now buying one because of just how warm it was. But it's made by a company called Uniqlo, which is UNIQLO. This is a 3XL one, but I'm not that size really. It's just that if you have it large, then you know you've got plenty of room. But it's a great coat. It's really warm. In fact, in some instances, it's too warm. And the great part about it is you can wear it under your motorcycle clothing should you be cold, but it's a very good garment as well to wear with your casual gear in the evening so that you don't have to carry with you some form of jacket or another. And you can literally just screw that up, and then I should roll it slightly better had I not been doing this video. But irrespective of that, it will go very happily into its bag, seal up. And the other great thing about it is that will squash down to next to nothing to occupy the space beautifully within it. So that's the bags and a couple of the things that I always carry with me in those bags, and the fact that I pack my clothing in the side panniers and the stuff that I need on a daily basis, including my wet weather overgear, including my puffer jacket in the top box so that they're easily achievable during the ride. The other thing that tends to happen as we go through a tour is we tend to collect laundry. And I have a bag in the back of my pannier which I use while I am first starting to collect laundry, so the first few days. But obviously once I get to a point where I break the balance of having a pannier's worth of laundry, then I will immediately make that pannier my laundry pannier, meaning that I don't need to take that one or its bag into the hotel or into the boarding for that particular night. I just literally leave it on the bike, and that becomes my laundry pannier. So that really, I think, gives you a rundown of the bags. I'm now going to go into the Vario panniers and I'm just going to pick one up on the top here, and maybe the pannier with the exhaust side so that you can see the difference of that one, and then maybe the top box so I can show you again the cavernous way in which that opens up into a really useful sized container. Okay, so whilst I'm out of shot, that's a really good thing, but here is the Vario pannier from the right-hand side of my bike. So this is the one that goes over the exhaust pipe. And if we actually take a look at this all around, here is the back side of it. So this is looking effectively from the rear of the machine. And you'll see that I have fitted some black reflective chevrons to both panniers, and in fact 2 rows of them to the top box, which you'll probably see in a second. So this is the view that a vehicle behind you would be able to see of it. And as you can see clearly here, it is scalloped here for the exhaust pipe, because the exhaust would actually come out through here. And if we take a look at it from inside of that area, you'll see that there's an aluminium plate here, which is a heat deflector to stop the heat from the exhaust from damaging the inside of the box. Equally from here, we can see the 2 hanging lugs. So these 2 hanging lugs here go over the frame of the bike, which we'll be able to see in the footage that we've taken on the bike. And these 2 lugs here slide from side to side to lock the cases into place. Now, how do we lock the cases into place? Obviously, they need to be hung off the hangers here and hung off this bracket here, which goes over the lug at the rear, just behind the rear pillion footrests. And then once we have the box ready to hang, we have to lift the handle. Now, why do we have to lift the handle? Because underneath the handle are two buttons, a red one and a yellow one. The red one is used to lock the case and hang the case, and the yellow one opens the case itself. Now, the reason that you have this one under here is it's actually the locking bar that stops this large one from being opened and effectively the case stolen. So providing you have the bag on and you have the case fixed and the handle down and locked, no one can actually access this, which means that nobody can then lift this one to steal the case. So if I pull this one upwards, and it does pull upwards, and if you watch this bottom one, you'll see that this has now popped up. It's now popped up into place. Perhaps we can see that a little better if I stand the box up. So you can see now it's popped up. And if I now lift that, you will see that these lugs here move. So now I can hang the bike on the pannier onto the bike. Once I've got it engaged on here at the top of the rack and here by the pillion footrest, I can then slide this red catch down, which is now slid these two lugs here into place and locked the whole case on. At the same time, I push down this one, which locks this one here. I close the handle, and using the motorcycle key, which on the 1250 is a slightly redundant piece of equipment because it's got keyless ignition, but using the bike key, I just put it in, turn it through 90 degrees, and the case is locked. So, you know, barring somebody with a crowbar, if somebody's determined enough, they'll always steal it. But effectively now, the handle can't be lifted. And if the handle can't be lifted, then the latch mechanism can't, and the case is actually then locked into place. It's a key-to-light system, so all three boxes use exactly the same bike key, as you would expect. So if we now look inside the box, so if we turn the bag into this angle and then maybe just slant it towards you so you can see how this is working. Obviously the handle at the moment is unlocked, so we just push in this button here, lift the handle. That exposes the red button, which we've been through, which removes the pannier and lifts up. And it also exposes this yellow one, which we push down, and that allows us to, with a little bit of suction, open the case. Now, this is in the closed position, so as you can see, there's quite a recess here, which is the void that the exhaust has to go round behind. But you'll see in a minute that I do use those cavities up above because you can't push the bags into there because the bags aren't that shape. But I do use those, and you'll see that a little later. If we then look at the Vario mechanism, and obviously this is quite a bit easier on the bike, but here is the Vario mechanism. It's this bar that goes all the way over and down and pivots off either side. And all you simply do is fold it out and move it around like so, and it pretty much doubles the void within here. And we'll give you the measurements of the different literage in a second. So if we look at that from the side, so you can get a better idea of it. Again, you're looking at it now from the back of the machine, but I've got it in the fully open position now. And if I lift the bar, you can see the pannier closing to its closed position. Now, I did mention earlier, and we'll just show you this in this pannier, there is quite a void here, and the bag only comes up against the edge of this void. So you're left with all this space up here. But I actually now utilize that with a couple of my toolkits. So I have this one, which is in a little Vera pouch, and that one sticks just there. And then I have this larger Vera pouch with its nest of cable ties and various hex keys and the like. And that one sits up in there like so. Now they do have a self-adhesive piece on the back so that they won't actually just drop down. I can normally as well get a roll of tape in here, of duct tape too, but none of that interferes with the void within the case, but it does give you an extra bit of safety with the fact that you're carrying a decent toolkit. Okay, so that's the side panniers, both of which are the same, barring the fact that one of them is scalloped, and therefore you can get your toolkit into the back of there if you pack carefully. But this is actually the top box, so slightly different. It is very much a cube, and how you would expect a top box to be. What it does, however, have is it does have this padding on it for the pillion passenger. So if you've got a pillion passenger, then they'll find that an awful lot more comfortable to be up against that rather than the hard plastic of those hinges. The only other difference with this particular box that I fitted to it, I've got a GoPro mount here on the top, and obviously, as I said earlier, I've got a couple of rows of black fluorescent chevrons on the back, and they make a big difference. They're not seen during the day, so there's no aesthetic change in the bike, but at night they really are very white stripes. But again, very simple and exactly the same. Push in the button here to drop the handle down. We're then given a red button which we would normally pull up, which would let this one go here, and that would allow the box to be removed. And then this side we've got a yellow one, and the yellow one simply pushes in, and again with a little bit of waterproof suction, the box opens. And once again, it's a fairly straightforward cavernous box, and inside there is the Vario bar which you lift to heighten it. But if I stand the box back up to make it a little bit easier for me to do that, you will be able to see that if I roll that over and lift the box into its fully open position very easily, my Shoei Neotech 2 fits in with room to spare. And that to me is quite important, that you can go out during a day and be able to effectively remove all of your motorcycle clothing and get back to normal clothing to be able to carry out your day. So it's a really useful feature of this box in its fully upright position. Hopefully now we'll go out and take a look at how they fit onto the bike and the speed in which they can be taken on and put off. So we'll see you in a second. Okay, so that gives you a flavour of the inner pannier bags for the Vario pannier system on the R1250GS or the 1200GS for that matter, or even just the Vario panniers, whatever you may have those fitted into. But it gives you a rundown of the bags, why I like them. Hopefully you found that interesting. If you did, perhaps give us a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel and you're finding these interesting, maybe you'd like to subscribe as well. That'd be really great. But the other thing I'm really keen on is getting your comments back. So until next time, hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.